Okay, welcome to the Black Parent Innovation Lab information webinar. We are really excited to have you join us on this webinar. Really, it'll be like an information session. You all will be able to ask questions later. And we have a couple of our fellows with us who are going to share some of their experience. So hopefully it will be informative. It'll hopefully be give you a little taste of just like how we operate, because this webinar setup is similar to how the programmatic webinars are set up. And so hopefully you get a feel for who we are as Parents for Liberation. You learn a little bit more about the Innovation Parent Lab, the Parent Innovation Lab, and you also get more information about the application and see if you feel like you would be a good fit, and if this is something you're interested in, and if you feel like this is something you want to apply for, because the application is closing soon. So welcome. We're going to get started. The next slide, please, is who we have today. So I'm Trina. Trina Green, I use she, her pronouns. I'm the founder of Parenting for Liberation. We also have the lovely Paradise Oakley, who will be our Parenting for Liberation Innovation Program Manager, who will be supporting with all things supporting. If you're in the cohort, you'll get to meet her, work closely with her. She uses they, them pronouns, so just be mindful of that as well. Yeah, and you'll hear more from them later today in a little bit. And then also on our call, we have two fellows from our previous cohorts. We have our OG, Miss Barbara Lawson. She uses she, her pronouns. Miss Barbara. You'll hear her giggles throughout the whole time. She's from cohort 1, and she'll tell you more about her and her work and her innovation idea and how she has been innovating since. And then from our second cohort, our last cohort, we have none other than B Bellinger. Belinda Bellinger goes lovingly by B. She uses she, they, fam, B pronouns. And they will tell you more about their project as well. You'll hear from them as well. So we'll jump into it. This is who's here. We're glad that you all are here. And this is what we'll do for the rest of our time together. We have about an hour-ish, 50 minutes. So we'll talk a little bit about like, what is the Innovation Lab? Like, what is that thing that y'all inviting us into? What is it? What does it entail? What are the deliverables? How much time does it take? What can I expect a little bit, right? So after you learn about what is the Innovation Lab, then we'll go through now, if that's something you're interested in, you should stay. And then we'll tell you a little bit about the application and the kind of questions that we ask and like what we're looking for with some of the questions. And then after you hear about how to apply, then you can hear from some of our fellows, like, okay, this was their experience, not from their application, but also like their experience in the program, to give you more of a sense, to be like, yeah, I think I'm interested in this. And then at the end, we'll have space for you to ask questions. And then we'll close with how to apply. Sounds good? Great. Let's go. I'm going to pivot and turn it to Paradise, who's going to share more about what is the Innovation Lab.
Okay, thank you, Trina. Yeah, we're so excited to launch our third cycle of the Innovation Lab. And it's truly a way for Black parents and caregivers to innovate an idea or a solution to a problem that is impacting their community. So think outside of the box, think creative. And so, yeah, the Black Parent Innovation Lab is an opportunity for them to experiment, iterate, and hone new strategies to help our communities thrive. It's a 6-month program. It starts in September and it ends February, March after our closing. It's a beautiful cycle. We have some of our fellows on the call as well. Just a really fun way to kind of understand that we have the solutions to solve problems that are impacting our communities, and really want to give families the chance to innovate their ideas, so funding them, and we'll talk a little bit more what that could look like. So the next slide goes over our program dates. We have one in-person design lab, and that will be 4 days in October. And then every month we'll have a virtual session for the fellows and the facilitators to talk about how to, heal your relationship with money, how to come up with questions to ask parents, because we want to experiment, have a hypothesis, and like see if this like the idea that you have is going to be relevant to the community that you're serving. So those are like some of the monthly webinars we'll have, and then in February we'll have like a closing project showcase, and the last slide, the background, that was it. Yeah, we have some virtual sessions. The in-person lab, it is a little intense because you're going through the different design cycles. You're building community with the fellows that are there, the facilitators, and some of the team, as well as thinking about your idea, getting feedback, how to iterate, how to prototype. There's all hands on deck, I will say, but there is some space for healing. There's some space for like reflection, and all the things in between that y'all might need to kind of really envision your idea. Yeah, so that's our in-person lab. And then after that, you've had time from November to February, or January, to kind of talk to families, get feedback from the cohort, and things of that nature. And then in February, we come back together, and we kind of talk about what we learned, and you have like your actual project, whatever format that could look like for you. And then you share it with the world and see, the growth process and journey. And that will also take place in SoCal. And then, March, we have a little wrap up, which will be virtually to close properly, and to like make sure everything is set. And then some resources. What will y'all be getting from this lab? So during the lab, you'll have a chance to do one-on-one coaching with Trina, our facilitators, and then we also have a finance person. So if you're having a little struggle with like budgeting or healing a relationship with money and things of that nature, there will be time to set up one-on-one calls. It is a cohort model, so meaning 8 to 10 fellows will be in the cohort together, and then we have communication threads, and then our in-person meetings and virtual meetings for you to bond and connect with other Black parents. We're not all monoliths, so you might connect with some other folks, on a different level, and we've seen that really spark joy of like people having, little working group sessions or co-working outside of our webinars and things of that nature. Outside of that, we also provide support with childcare. As we are a parenting organization, we know we welcome the little ones to be on the calls, be coming in person with us, and things of that nature. So we will, find ways to support that and make sure you can be, a full parent, a full caregiver, and bring them with you. Because as we know, we bring our whole village in our communities when we show up. And then you will also have a chance to, up to $5,000 to innovate your project and idea. The reason why we say up to $5,000 is because, we have the webinars, we have the in-person gatherings. And so if you miss some of those, there will be like a deduction in the available funding to innovate your idea. And that is the site in the application. But yeah, we want to make sure that folks show up, do the in-person and the virtual sessions, and so that we can be fully present and making sure like we're hitting our milestones and that you have full capacity to be creative. And we know that that looks like showing up. And so that's what the support could look like. That's what I have. I'm gonna pass it over to Ms. Trina to go over the application.
Yes. So the application is out now. I hope that you've been able to check it out. It's a Google form. And we also have a PDF of like all the questions so that you can see in advance. Like we don't want you to feel like I'm filling it out and like, whoa, here comes this question out of nowhere. So the questions are available for you to download a PDF on our website, parentsandforliberation.org/innovation. I was about to say liberation. And so some of the questions, so I would say if you have the capacity to download the full application, As a PDF, it will provide you a lot of the probably questions you might have about like, well, what's the cohort model, or how's this stipend working out for $5,000? And then like, what did other people do before me? So we even have a list of like some of the past issues that folks talked about. And we have links to some of the past projects. So if you want to like just have more information instead of going directly to the application, you could go to download the PDF, right? Okay, so in terms of timeline, the deadline is on July 19th, so you have a little over a week. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the questions and what we're asking. So generally we have our, our regular, degular, extra out demographics questions. So that's just about you. So we know who you are, right? We want to, as Paradise said, we aren't a monolith as Black parents or Black communities. So we want to hear about you and your identities, so that we can honor the wholeness of who you are. But after you get through that, then we get to some questions that are about like how you participate in small groups and in cohort spaces. And so we just start off by just asking you to tell us about who you are as a parent and tell us about your community, right? That's just a general, you could drop your bio, but that's not what we're really asking for. We're asking for you to tell us about you and your family formation and about the community that you're in. So whatever you'd like to tell us about yourself, we're down to hear. And again, it's an opportunity for us to connect and learn more about you. The second question is, as Paradise said, like this process, you go from coming in with, here's a question I'm curious about, here's an issue I'm passionate about, and I have some ideas about potential solutions that I want to try out. That's the energy you're coming into the space with. And then in 6 months, you execute the idea. Like it goes from being a thing in your mind to and on paper or in your dreams to being like in the real world. And so it can be an intense process. So one of our questions is, what's your learning style? Because we want to make sure that if we're creating a space for you, that if you're a person who needs to see everything in writing, or if you're a person that needs to have everything in visuals and graphics, like we want to make sure that we can create the space as much as we can, right? We can't make everything perfect, but we try to honor people's learning styles. Again, this is a space where you'll be trying something new and getting feedback from each other, right? We believe in feedback as information. We believe as feedback as an investment in you and your growth and leadership. So you'll be practicing giving feedback and you'll also be receiving feedback. So one of our questions is, how do you handle constructive feedback? And describe a time where you received feedback and you used it to improve. And then another question is just like, if there's anything else that you think will be helpful. So that's the part that's kind of like about you. That's it. Then we are like, ha, the juicy part. Tell us about your ideas. And so we ask questions a little differently. Every year we iterate the application. So even our fellows who are alumni are probably like, that was some new questions. They are. We iterate ourselves. We practice what we preach over here at Parents of Liberation. So when we get to asking you questions about your idea, it's really about what is the problem you're trying to solve, right? We really want you to focus on the problem. The villain laugh. That's my conspiring to do great good in the world and disrupt evil. Villain laugh. Sorry, I'm replying to a comment in the chat. I have a little adult ADHD. Bear with me. The question we would like you to answer is, what is the challenge impacting Black families that you are curious about? Again, we want you to focus on the thing that's the problem, and not get too tied into the solutions, right? Because the whole point is to come into the lab and like help ideate and come up with solutions. So then after you tell us about what is this big problem that keeps you up at night, that really just, it irks your soul, and you really just feel like we got to do something about this as a community. What is that big problem? Name that. And then the second question is, what are 3 ideas or solutions that you believe will address that issue? Right? So we want you to come in with a multitude of ideas, right? And then we also want you to be like, and do the ideas and solutions that you're recommending, do they align with Parenting for Liberation's mission? Because what we don't want is for anyone to come up with a solution that would be in misalignment with how we operate. Like if you're like, I don't know, wanting to do something that creates more harm or doing something that creates more anti-Blackness. Like, no, we don't want those kind of ideas. We want solutions that align with our mission. So we also gave you our mission just in case you don't know it. So when you write that answer, make sure you answer both of those questions. Don't just tell us the solutions. Tell us how you also think those solutions align with the mission of Parenting for Liberation. The third question is, which 2 innovation principles would you like to try on and embody? And we list them in the PDF. So we have several innovation principles. They're also listed in the application: reclamation, creativity, collaboration, experimentation, adaptation, right? Which of these would you like to try on? Because throughout the lab, throughout the process, you're testing out these things, but you're also learning things about yourself and what are the shifts that you can make in the world. And then the fourth and fifth questions are about what do you want to give and what do you want to receive. So the fourth question is, what are the gifts that you can bring into the space, right? Like everybody in the group has a gift and an offering. You bring your own magic and creativity and brilliance. And so we don't want you to be like only coming here to be in learner mode, because we believe that it is a mutual exchange of information. So what do you hope to bring to the experience? What do you hope to share? It could also just be like you want to bring a spiritual practice. Like I have people who was teaching us yoga and twerking and all that stuff. That was on the out. That wasn't a part of the curriculum. But you know what? You brought that, and we loved you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then the last question is, what do you hope to gain? So again, it's like a mutual exchange. What do you hope to bring? What do you hope to gain? And then there's this optional thing now where you can upload a video telling us more about your innovation problem and the ideas that you have. Like if you want, it's not mandatory, but we love to see your face. And the reason why that's now optional is because now we're doing interviews. That's a new thing too. So after we go through a selection process, after the 19th, folks who move to the next round will be invited for an interview. So that is the application. Again, the deadline is it's midnight on July 19th. Well, 11:59, I guess. I don't know, midnight. Basically, you got to the
11:59.
end of the day. Okay. We know how some parents, use that midnight oil to, get things done when the kids go to sleep. So we didn't make it close at 5 p.m. or end of the workday, because we know parenting is not a 5 p.m. workday. So hopefully that gives folks time to apply. And yeah, that's the application. And if you have questions when we go to Q&A, please write them down. We'll be down to answer any questions you may have about the application. Next slide, please. So, okay, now that you know what the application looks like, you like, am I a good fit? Like, am I the one? Is it me? Is it me? And so here's a look at some prospective applicants. Okay. So we're looking for folks who are committed to making changes in their community. Like, you know what the problem is. You done seen it happen over and over and over, and you feel like, I got to do something about this. So a person who is passionate and committed to making changes in their community, a person who is oriented towards liberation, and not just for yourself, but for all the Black people. Okay. Black liberation in particular, because when we get free, everybody get free. Okay. A person who has a desire to learn. If you in here being like, I got the idea, I got the solution, I know what it is, I don't need none of y'all help, just run me my money and I'm about to go. Yeah, that won't be the best person. You have to have a desire to learn. And I would like to add learn in community, because it is about not only about our facilitators, it's about the collective cohort of Black parents who you'll be in community with. A willingness to shift, right? You have one of our things is around shifting and pivoting and like being able to be nimble and flexible. And that's how you got to be as a parent. These kids will pop up with some things at the last minute and you like, oh, the whole day has changed. So we hope that you have that willingness to be able to shift your ideas, your thinking, or even what you want proposed to do. And then being open to feedback. We have a radical feedback practice. We've gotten feedback about the program, which is why the application didn't change. Okay. So every time we're iterating. We don't see feedback as negative. It's information to help us grow. And then lastly, a desire to put new ideas into practice. We don't spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time thinking, but we also want to spend the time doing. So that piece around praxis. It's like we could be in theory, we can think about it, we can strategize, but then we want to execute and get it done. And so a desire to put the ideas that you're learning in real time into practice. So that is how I would describe a prospective applicant. Like if you feel like, am I a good fit? Is this for me? If you feel like this describes you, then sign on up. We'll see your application. Okay, I think that's it for me. Am I passing it? Or no? I think now I get to introduce our lovely alumni. Yes, yes. I'm like, yeah, I know y'all want to just keep hearing from me. So I want to introduce both of our alumni on the call. So we have Miss Barbara, who is the creator of the Dandelion Project, but also is the creator of Meet Me in the Dirt. She is a wife, a mother, entrepreneur, a child of God, and she is an alumni of Parents and Proliferation's Black Parent Innovation Lab. Welcome, Miss Barbara.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then also on the call, I'll just do both of them. So can you do the next slide? Also on our call is B. B is a poet, organizer, educator, writer, and a curator of Black Griot Conjure. Yes. They live in the Bay Area with their beautiful baby, who is full of energy. Full of energy, full of life. So welcome B to the webinar.
Hey y'all. Thank you, Trina.
Yes, yes. Welcome. Okay, so first I'm going to ask each of you to share a little bit. First, I'm just curious. We can start with each of you. The next slide has both of their faces, so that I'll just ping pong.
Alonzo, are you leaving me?
So
Yep.
can you tell me, Miss Barbara, about what your innovation idea was, and what problem you were trying to solve? And how did it impact community?
Somebody has to mute.
Okay,
I got you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It seems like it's been a long time since I've been a part of P4L. That was the time goes by really fast, but while you're in it, it's the monthly reminders that you need to be doing your work that you will benefit from until you get to see each other. And so for my project, it's interesting because I came in with one idea and ended up actually executing another. Because you're challenged by the time you get in community with these ladies, with the facilitators, and with the rest of the community that are there, the other applicants that are either on the Zoom call here or others that'll show up. By the time you get in proximity, you may even be challenged to go a little further than what you intended. And so that is actually what ended up happening with me. I came in originally to do a project for single mothers. That is a soft spot in my heart. And that would have been very easy to do. However, there's some changes and opportunities that we have to do something a little bit that we get to be able to expand, not only for ourselves, but then, for the greater good. And so that is what happened. In my case, I ended up shifting from being focused on the single mother aspect to being able to create a space for parents of LGBTQ QIA and the rest of the alphabet. I can't keep up with them all. All of it, all inclusive. A way for us the parents and the LGBTQ community child, to be able to come together and build a quote unquote their new garden, where they can communicate effectively, love and support each other in the ways that are needed for their unique family style. And so that challenged me. Thank you for that. It was a shift in action. It was in real time too. I'll just tell you that. That's why I'm asking y'all to be open, to come in. You're coming in with your idea because you are who you are, and you already have in your mind what you're gonna do. But I'm just asking you to be open because there may be more work that is required of you, and you may be it's gonna benefit you. To be able to do a bigger thing, quite honestly. And so the project required. Oh, did somebody have a question? I heard somebody talking. Oh, okay. She said, "Girl, keep on going." So the Dandelion Project. When we were on site at what was like the lab, I don't remember what we called it, but we'll come together for a weekend. You will come in and stay at the hotel and just be treated so well. All the food and everything that you want to have, but you will be required to do what is called a prototype of your idea. And so when we were in that group talking about who these projects need to serve, what does the Black community look like right now? What are the needs? That's how you develop your problem. It's easy to say single mothers, but single mothers, oh, thank you. Single mothers, how? What is it, right? But the more that we were talking about these ideas, my heart was being pricked to actually talk about something that is very difficult. Y'all already know that the LGBT, our children, fare way worse than other ethnicities when they are a part of the LGBTQ community. And it's because of a lot of shame that is surrounding that. The lifestyle, and even parents feeling like they failed somehow. And that was my personal story. And so this is why I'm telling you that to allow yourself the work that you would need to do to expand, to if that comes up for you, be curious about it. And if you are willing, allow yourself to heal even through that even more and expose that, because it may be something that this particular time in this world, they may need to experience that. And so the Dandelion Project came to be because my son is gay, and I had difficulty dealing with that. I did not put my son out. A lot of Black families do that. They sort of disassociate from their children because they just don't agree, right? But that needs to change, and has changed for me personally. And I do share these tender moments with other parents who are just having a difficult time mourning the different dreams that they may have had, for their children, and then taking on, or learning more about the dreams that that child has for themselves. And so that is how my project ended up evolving. It is beautiful. It is a very necessary tool in the community, especially our community that does not have as many resources as other people do. And the Parenting for Liberation team fully supported me in that.
Thank you so much, Miss Barbara. Every
You're
time you tell the
welcome.
story, I get chills because I was like, what is that? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. And I'm so grateful to have been able to witness and bear witness to that evolution and shift and growth, and how it made an impact on you and your personal life with your child, but also how that opened up space for you to engage with other Black parents who are struggling,
Yes.
with that, right?
Yes.
So I want to turn to you, B, to answer the same question. Can you tell us about your innovative idea? What was the problem you were trying to solve, and the impact on your community?
Yes. Welcome. Thank you so much, everyone who is on the call. If you are here, then it might actually mean that you are supposed to complete the process all the way till the end of the 6 months. And I feel like P4L came through for me during a time where I was in a transition, and it felt like divine timing because I was in a space where I was a literacy educator who went into parent organizing and was supporting parents and them seeing their own power and like being able to see parents struggle with that and being able to embody their power against the system, and systemic racism and systemic oppression. And I found myself in a space where um, I was like, what do I do? Where do I go next? And um, Parenting for Liberation came through, and it actually was a space for me to actually drop down into myself. And I came into this innovation lab with no expectations. This was like, I feel like one of the opportunities where I was able to just like come as like a blank um canvas, and I had some fellows who would ask me like, so what's your idea, what are you going to do? Like I feel like I got asked that, especially at the retreat, like the first like retreat, where we actually had to figure out our prototype. Like people were asking like, so what are you thinking, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And I actually felt uncomfortable in the beginning about not knowing, because there were folks around me who felt like they knew, until the P4L staff was like, reminded us like, actually it's okay that you don't know, like you don't actually need to know anything about what you're innovating or what you're creating. You just need to stay open to the process and what comes through the process. And so I stayed with that part. And I'm glad I did, because when I came in, I felt like I was trying to like solve the problem of Black parents not being able to prioritize their creative self-expression. So whether, I know there's Black parents out there that are artists, and I was inspired by this because my mother is an artist, but growing up I didn't get to actually experience her artistry. And I felt like my child was 5 at the time, and I felt like I was focused on like surviving capitalism and paid labor and not actually putting time into my artistic craft. And I felt like there's other Black parents out there who, we innovate, we are able to we have creative expression through many different mediums, many different modes. Um, but it's sometimes really hard to actually take the time to focus on that while also parenting and also working. And then I feel like the way capitalism works is like it extracts so much of our energy, and then parenting extracts a lot of our energy. And so sometimes we feel like we don't actually have anything left for ourselves. But being in this innovation lab remind me that actually my art and my craft and my writing is actually what fuels me to be able to like show up in the world. Like and so if I'm not actually watering that, if I'm not watering myself and watering that, then it's easy for me to then be in survival mode. It's easy for me to be complicit in capitalism. And I felt like being a part of the Black Parent Innovation Labs was an opportunity for me to just take space to figure out how to get free as a Black person. Like, how to get free. How do I liberate myself from the system? And um and it also had me like reflect on just some of the conditioning that I know happens in the Black community around education. I used to be a middle school teacher, and I taught English, and just some of the myths around our ability to like learn. Like there's all these statistics that, you know, say, oh, like Black children stop reading at, you know, their test scores go down, you know, when they're tested in 3rd grade, you know, they have the lowest test scores and things like that. And I felt like when I came in, I thought I was like going to create like a writing circle for Black parents and their children. But then we have a tenant, I think it's called radical doability? Radical doability. So what that means is that it can't just be doable, but it also has to be something that's radical, like it actually is changing or transforming. And so when I was like, oh, the writing circle, that's totally doable, but that's not radical. That's not actually like change, like that's going to solve the problem, but it's not actually shifting us towards our liberation. And so in a way, even though I was talking to my community, this made me actually have to go back and look to myself, like return to myself and identify, like, what am I not actually sharing? Like, what is it about? Like, what piece of me am I actually hiding? And through the process, I realized I was actually hiding my spiritual practice. And I realized that actually my writing is actually connected to my spiritual practice. And that was the piece that was missing. And there's actually a lot of Black parents out here who as writers like believe, like, you know, the pen is mightier than the sword, who believe like their word is their bond. There are Black parents in, you know, in our community believe that actually like your words are a spell, you know. And so going through this process and creating Black Creole Conjure, it allowed me to not just look at the Black parents in my community, but the Black parents who have come before us, who have been writing, and the legacy that they've left for us, and how Black parents today, we are still continuing that legacy. And that the work that we've taken up as parents is spiritual work. The work that we've taken up in writing is spiritual work. The work that we've taken up as innovators is spiritual work. Like that our actual tradition as Black folks is actually a tradition of like life as ritual. And so whatever ritual we create is actually, we are being tapped into our divinity. And so that is actually how Black Griot Conjure came to be, because it was actually like, oh, how, like I've been doing this ritual, other Black parents are doing this ritual. What would it look like for us to come together and be reminded of our indigenous practice, so that we can have a way to free ourselves from capitalism, from systemic racism and oppression and all those things, and be reminded that if we're connected to our innovation and our creativity, our children need to see us doing that, so that legacy continues. Like, and so I don't want to repeat what I experienced with my child. I want my child to know, I don't want them to know that I'm just a worker, that I work all the time. I want them to know that I'm an innovator. I want them to know that I'm a creative. I want them to know that I'm an artist. I want them to know that I'm a writer. And in order for them to know that, they actually have to see me doing that. And that was something that came through my talks with Black parents. They were like, the children have to be there. They have to see you doing it. You need to bring them with you. And I think that's what I really loved about this innovation lab, is that I actually got to show up as a parent and I was well cared for, which then allowed me to like drop my mask, drop my armor, drop all those things that I put up, the shield that I put up to even show up, in a capitalist society, and just be a Black person who creates and who thinks and innovates, and know that my baby is well cared for and that I'm going to be well cared for. And I was sad because I actually wanted to bring my child with me, but the dates didn't work out. But then it finally worked out for the last day. And I think that was by design too, because like Trina said, my child has a lot of energy. She has a lot of energy. Like, she's a manifester. She has a lot of energy. So I'm grateful that she was able to be there for the celebration, because if she was there while I was innovating, I don't know if that worked out. But it was great to be able to see other Black parents with their babies in their village, not just their babies, but also like, their family members there. I really appreciate being in a space like that, where I got to see everybody's village, even though my child wasn't there because it was too much. So yeah, I would say do it, like if your first mind, is like, oh yeah, this seems like it, I would say do it, because I feel like, when will you ever get an opportunity where you get to be held in your creative process, in your innovative process as a Black parent today? So, yeah.
Well, I was over here clapping. I was in the spirit. I said, Amen, Reverend B. Okay, then. No, it was really nice to hear. Because B just finished what earlier this year was the end of your cohort, right? And so it's always so nice, also as a person who held space. And like I remember your presentation in February, even now, months later, the clarity and the connections that you're making to capitalism, to the historical pieces, to your creativity, to your ancestral practice, to your spirit, it's just like, it feels like it's even nestled even further in your spirit. Like you've been able to like let it land beyond just this project you were doing for the 6-month period. It feels very clear. Like your North Star feels very clear. And so I am just, I guess my follow-up question, even though y'all both answered all three of the questions that we had on the list at once, my follow-up question for both of you, I'll go back to Ms. Barbara, is, well, my follow-up question is really around, so like fast forwarding, right? You're like, I don't know, 6 or so months out. Barbara, you're like a year and a half out. How has this program experience impacted the work that you're doing now? And not just the work professionally, right? Because even as what B and Ms. Barbara both shared, is that this is professional political work, but this is also personal transformation, right? And so when I say like, how is that process and this experience impacting how you're showing up in your work now, your hard work, but also the work that you do, in the capitalistic form as well, if either or.
I think the beautiful thing that B and I both have in common is that it became very personal. You may think that you're bringing the idea out. Like I said, it may be apart from you. You may feel like it's separate from you, or that you're doing it for them. But it seems like both of us realized very quickly that it was for us. And then for everybody that was actually there, had a personal interest and a personal, connection to it. And so the work, Dandelion Project, Meet Me in the Dirt, none of this is new. The exposure of it, we are each other's medicine. That's beautiful, yeah. Deborah. We are each other's medicine. And I teach people how to find that medicine in dirt, in the soil. And so getting right back down to the foundations of who we are, what we choose to build our family upon, how we want to grow in the future, starting over again, all those types of things. Those metaphors are able to be grasped individually while we are in dirt. And so I continue to do that and have been doing that consistently, not only just for the LGBTQ community, but for all of us who are in pain. And I just think about, so one of the applicants on here, quite honestly, when we talk about iteration, she just sent me a message. My first business is Barbara's Delight, and the Urban League was holding a entrepreneurial contest, and Ivory used to work at Vermont Slauson, if I'm remembering correctly. This was 14 years ago. 14 years ago. And so I used to paint, quote unquote, gardens. I still do. Painting gardens was me finding a way to express myself, express the pain that I was having. I ended up winning that entrepreneurial contest, and they never did it again. This is what I'm talking about, these opportunities for you to really be able to get your work out there, learn the personal lessons that you have for such a time as this, because clearly sometimes you won't get that opportunity again. But for me to be able to see her when she just put Barbara's Delight, and I was like, and so again, you will continue to build upon the idea if you allow it to really, the way that B did, unfold over time, and the way that I did. I was open and actually uncomfortable. The discomfort that you may feel while you are iterating or while you're in the prototype mode, allow that. Don't push it away. Be more curious about that as to why you're like halted on things, or why you're so uncomfortable. There's something else that may be trying to come out. Allow yourself time to do that. But again, so back to it, from Barbara's Delight to Yet She Rises to Meet Me in the Dirt now, all of these have been ways for me to continue to go back to what my foundational principles are, my faith, my heart, to be able to express myself. And flowers growing through the discomfort. Absolutely. Absolutely, sis. That's what Meet Me in the Dirt actually means. And so they get to come in, and they, along with their parents, the entire family, builds the garden according to the life that they have, according to how they choose to grow. Each of them brings something different to it. And I continue those messages throughout my personal life and in my professional life. And it is catching on. People are getting the thing. They want to meet me in the dirt.
Yes, Meet Me in the Dirt was on what station the other day? CBS?
Yes.
Yes, they was in the LA Times. You were
The
invited
Today
to
Show.
the Today Show. Oh, I missed that one. I'm gonna have to go back and find you on the Today Show. But yes, it is like growing.
Yes.
And we're like honored to have been a part of the journey, and like adding a new element to your project by even adding the Dandelion Project, which falls under Meet Me in the Dirt. So
yes. Very tender.
Very tender. I realize we only have 10 minutes, and I know that people may have questions. So I'm gonna turn to Paradise to facilitate questions. I'm sorry, B. We're gonna come back with a space if we have time for you both to say something in the close. Are there any questions that are boiling for people? You are welcome to come off mute or put them in the chat. Any questions about the application, about the projects, about anything?
Yes, I have a question. And first off, thank you for the info session. Thank you for these wonderful testimonials. It really does sound like a phenomenal program. And even if I'm not selected, I'm glad that it exists in the world, because it sounds really fantastic, especially that it's transformative for the individual, not just, the individual doing service on behalf of our community, which we as parents and as women often we self-sacrifice in the interest of the community. But it's beautiful that care is taken for us, even though it may not just be moms in this group. But so my question is, I have ideas about like what I perceive are problems in the community, but
I don't, having not done extensive research about it, how deeply do you vet like the problem, or the extent of the problem, or how do we substantiate that it is a problem versus, our maybe instincts or how we're experiencing this particular issue?
That is a great question. Because a lot of when you're in the lab, you'll notice a lot of the assignments earlier on, before you even start coming up with the solutions, is to go talk to more community. It's like go have 5 curious conversations with 5 other Black parents. Talk to them about this issue, because we want to make sure that it's not just the you issue, that it is a community issue. Like, oh, are multiple people experiencing this? And then when you talk to those multiple people who are experiencing this, what do they say that they think the solution is? Because the solution should be informed by the community, right? And so that is what we do during the program. But when you apply, we're not asking you to go and do curious conversations or go talk to people to write your problem. We trust that you are experiencing it. We trust that multiple people are experiencing it. Like, we trust that the problems that you are naming are problems that exist in your community. And so you don't have to be like a researcher. I think oftentimes society, mainstream institutions will be like, oh, you didn't get the degree, you didn't do the research, you didn't do the right paperwork or processing to find that out as an issue. There's no statistical data. So then it's not true. We don't practice that, but we do believe in the ability to like go connect and be in community to make sure that it is held in community. So I hope that answers your question, Ivory. And Ivory, you look so familiar.
Absolutely does.
I feel like I've seen you before.
Yes, it was beautiful to see you yesterday, Ivory, at Black Beat. Oh, wait, sorry.
Oh my gosh, it's such a small world. But yeah, we met a couple times. I went to the Black Mamas Deserve, which was a love letter to us.
Yes.
So now I'm about to stop y'all. So just
yeah. Apply. Any other questions? Paradise, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we accept up to 10 fellows each year, but the application amount of people coming in varies. So yeah, just apply. We're excited to read your applications and see, what ideas y'all are trying to solve.
Any other questions? We don't want you to walk away and be like, what? I don't know what I should and then we're going to get emails. I'm emailing us on July 19th at 11:55 p.m. Did anyone else come off mute and wanted to ask a question? I'm sorry.
No questions.
Okay. That means that we were very clear, Paradise. And
we're very
oh, Deborah just came off mute. Deborah, you have a question? Okay, maybe not. I'm not trying to put people on blast. I've been told that I do that. I do that.
A gentle call-in.
I just want to put spotlight because I want everybody to see you shine, baby. Okay. Well then, since there's no more questions, I do want to give B an opportunity. The last question I was gonna have is just if you knew someone who was on the thinking about applying or not applying or whatever. I feel like you both have already said it, but I just want to give y'all both the last words before. Hello. And if there's any questions that come up, put them in the chat. See, Deborah didn't unmute it again, and I'll be thinking that she say something.
And I'm trying to. I don't know what's going on with my connection. Can you guys hear me?
There you go.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, hi everyone. It's good to be here. Thank you so much for facilitating this conversation. So I've asked Marianne a subset of this question, and it's about applying with my partner. And if there's anything that we have to, if we're applying as a group, maybe anybody else was interested, like in applying, with another person, like what should we consider during the application, when we're applying together?
Yes, we love a good collaboration. That's one of our, one of the things we value is collaboration. So if you want to apply with someone, you totally could. You fill out the application, and when it just asks for the things about, like, tell us who you are. You are both in a unit together, it's your partner, but you also might want to say, well, this is my background and this is my partner's background, right? Like, you don't have to do it as a unit in terms of like describing yourselves individually. But then everything else in the application should be, not everything, everything about the idea should be about your collective ideas around the solutions, right? So hopefully you all are like in alignment about what the issue is and in alignment about what some of the solutions are. But when it comes to your, your unique identities around like what's your learning style, you can have my partner learns this way and this person A learns this way and person B learns that way, actually have it separated out just so that we know. And if your partner's in the same way, like in terms of like who are your children and things like that, those kind of questions, I mean, I'm assuming you share some of that. So yeah, I think one person could fill it out for both of you, and it could be one application that includes both of your ideas and visions.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for sharing the question. I think we have a question in the chat. Dice, you want to read it?
Oh yeah, I can read this question. I do have another question. For the prototype weekend, we don't have to bring our children, right? It's totally optional. We just want to make sure that if you do bring your children, they like, we're still figuring out childcare, like if we'll have a person on site or support folks to bring their children. And then we'll also, if like you have children, like do childcare reimbursement if there's like a nanny or a caregiver that needs to support with that.
Children are not obligated, but it's always nice to meet them. And I will name that this time, so like it's iterated, the program design. So when Barbara was in the cohort 1, it was a weekend. And then that cohort said, we want more time. And so we gave them 2 weekends, the second cohort. And then we learned that splitting it up provided some challenges. So we went back to a 1 time, but now it's a week.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a weekend.
It's Tuesday to Friday.
Tuesday to Friday. So we created more time. We didn't condense it to like a Thursday to Sunday, but we gave them more space. So you're not going to be bringing your kids for a weekend. It'll be for a few days if you bring your kids. Great question. Other questions? I know we're almost at time. I think I was inviting folks to say, what's one thing you would say to somebody who's on the fence about applying? B, you go first, and then Barbara, you close us out.
I would just say, if you're on the fence, is that your intuition talking, or is that your head? Just figure it out and then apply.
Similar to B, don't let anything stop you. Sometimes these applications could be lengthy and you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, they're going to get thousands of applications and how are they going to weed through blah, blah, blah. Our mind gives us all these different, scenarios, but if it's for you, it's for you. If this opportunity is for you, yours will be highlighted in this moment. So don't worry about that. Our job is to sow seeds. You put it out there, and if it's your time, you will be chosen. You'll know.
And I just want to add what Miss Barbara said, is that the application is an application to get information from you so that they can curate an experience for you. So I just want to say that because I feel like, sometimes when you do applications, it's like, they're getting this information, but what is this for? Are they vetting me? Like, there's a vetting process, but it's also, they curate an experience where you literally feel like you can show up and you don't actually have to worry about how you show up. You don't have to worry about when you show up. You don't have to worry about who you're going to be when you like you just get to show up as your authentic self because because the experience is curated for you. So I'm just like, apply, because when are you going to get a time where you're in a space that is curated to who you and everyone else in the room, for you and everyone else in the room. Curate. The information is to curate the experience. So just apply. Just apply. Just apply. Just apply. Don't wait.
And just apply and sing. And that's a wrap. All right. Paradise has just dropped the links for the application, for the PDF version, for the actual Google form to apply. It closes deadline Friday, July 19th at midnight. All day and night on July 19th. Yeah, don't block your own blessing by not applying. Don't tell yourself no before anybody else do. You got to say yes to you by applying. And then it gives us the opportunity to say, we concur.
I love that.
So without further ado, I'm going to let you go because we said an hour. And
I'm about to put my application in to review apps. I'm about to go right now.
Oh, what y'all want to review?
What other job titles are there? Send the alumni all the other job titles that Paradise doesn't feel.
Okay, Miss Barbara.
Don't ask for something you can't handle. All right, beloved. Thank y'all so much. And we look forward to reading your applications on July 9th.
Okay. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Godspeed.
This was
You're
great.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Hello.